Good evening and welcome to the Candidates Forum. I am Carol Schlipak, President of the League of Women Voters of Irving. Many thanks to our co-sponsors for the special assistance they have provided with the organization, the signage, advertising setup, and general promotion of this event. Our co-sponsors are the Greater Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Las Colinas Association, the City of Irving, and ICTV, the Irving Community Television Network, ICTN. There is a quotation by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt that has significant meaning to me for tonight's program. It reads, "Democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguards of democracy, therefore, is education." End of quote. It is our intent to provide education tonight by allowing you to hear directly from the candidates in their own words with their goals and their priorities. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce an individual who you've met before, but who has been working on this event for several months. It is through her leadership that the many organizations and individuals have joined with us in this effort. Please meet again Mona Wyatt, past president of the League of Women Voters of Irving and the director of the Candidates Forum. Mona, it's yours.
Thank you very much. I wanted to add to what Carol said, a general statement about the League. We're a nonpartisan organization, although we're considered political because we have events like this. We don't take sides. We don't say we're for or against any candidate. That's why we provide this opportunity for you to hear both sides, to hear questions that we think are of interest to the community, and have them answer as truthfully as they can, and then you can make up your mind. We also publish a voter's guide. Information about that is through Vote 411. It's on your program. The program tonight has a lot of helpful information for you. Please don't neglect to take that with you. Do print your own personal ballot. This is especially important for us in Irving because we have single-member districts, which means some of us can't vote for every candidate. So pay attention to that. Learn about those candidates that you can vote for before you go out on election day. We have a website, lwbirving.org. For any help, please go there. You'll find all kinds of interesting information. What I'd like to do is now is introduce some of our candidates that are either unopposed or that we have, for whatever reason, not invited to participate in a question and answer period tonight. Especially we have two candidates maybe here from the Dallas County Community College District. The incumbent, Wesley Jameson, is here, and his opponent, Anthony Rodriguez. They have material here, I think. Stand, if you would, and let the audience see who you are. These are candidates that represent District 5 in Irving. You might want to be reminded that the Community College Board, among other things, seeks to provide an affordable education for all the citizens of Dallas County. Here are the important guys. Talk to them. Tell them what you would like, what you hope that they will do. Another district, 6, also represents Irving, but I can't see over the podium, but I think that she's not here. Diana Flores is the incumbent in District 6, and her opponent is Princeton Benson. If you have an opportunity to learn about them, please do, and vote accordingly if you are in District 6. We're going to begin with school board candidates tonight, and we always try to include candidates from Coppell and Carrollton-Farmers branch. Why is that? Some of you know the answer to that. You have children that go to school in those districts, and we thought that you would like to know about them as well as the ones in Irving. And a little further information, which you probably already know. Place 1 in Irving, Stephen Jones has no opponent, and according to league rules, then he was not invited to participate tonight. I see him, I think, in the audience, and no, I was wrong. If you are here hiding somewhere, then just wave. The other district is place 6. Some of us got our numbers wrong when we talked about this candidate before. You will find some information in some places that says that he's in place 7, and that's wrong. He's running in place 6. He has no opponent, and his position is one that's being filled because of a vacancy there. And I don't think that Mr. Randy Necessary is here tonight. In Carrollton-Farmers branch, Mrs. Klein had no opponent, and so she was not invited to participate either. And in Coppell, Mr. Holm had no opponent, and the same thing with him. So obviously, in those cases, you don't have a choice. So league rules say you don't have a forum unless you have both candidates. Now, there's one more district, Coppell, as I said, we invited to come, and the situation, why there are no representatives from Coppell is because the incumbent, Ms. Dungan, had some business with the school board, which meant she could not attend either. Her opponent, that I did not talk to, had to be disinvited because of league rules, not just Irving League, state and national rules say that if a forum is broadcast or televised, you must have at least 2 opponents. So I regretfully had to tell him that he couldn't participate, but he could come if he wished. Now, is Mr. Jeff Jordan in the audience? Okay, then. Well, we're going to go on with our forum. I wanted to explain a little bit about the questions. We invited readers of the newspapers where we placed an ad to submit questions to our website about subjects that you felt were of interest for City Council and School Board. And some of you did. We had a meeting with our sponsors and league members and chose what we thought were the 5 best questions that would answer questions that we felt like you wanted to know about how they would serve. So that's where those 5 questions come from. We also have expanded our process tonight a little bit and invited you to ask a question if you would like. We've distributed cards. If you don't have one and would like to have one, raise your hand now and somebody will bring you one. We have a screening board of league members, and we just want to be sure that it's a question that is not already, we don't already have in our slate, and to be sure that it's not a question directed to one particular candidate. All the candidates answer all of the questions, and that it's not about some particular issue that affects just you. That doesn't mean it's not important, but we feel like a forum is a place where many people would like to know other ideas from the candidates. So that's about the questions. If you have a question, we hope that you would submit it by 7:20, so we would have time to screen the questions and add it in to see if it's a question we haven't already asked. And I think I'm finished with all my talk now, and you're probably saying, well, it's about time we came to hear the candidates, not you. But I would like to introduce our moderator for tonight. It's Janice Schiffer. She's a league member from Collin County, and she's also a state board member, and she's probably had many years of experience and stories that she could tell us all, but we'll save all of those for another time. Tonight we're going to get to the questions and the candidates. Janice.
Thank you, Mona. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Mona went over some of the guidelines for the forum, and when we get to the question and answer session, remember each candidate will have the opportunity to answer each question, and we're going to vary the order so that everyone has the opportunity to speak first at least once, and you don't always have to go after the same person, so it gets to be a little bit of a fruit basket turnover. So candidates, I'm going to ask you to please be courteous, speak into your mic, and don't forget to turn off the mic when you're finished. Otherwise, we'll hear you breathing and maybe saying things you didn't want to be heard. Candidates are going to have 1 minute to make an opening statement, 1 minute for a closing statement, and 1.5 minutes to answer each question. So that means this part of the forum should last approximately 50 minutes. After that, we're going to take a break to allow the mayor and city council candidates to take a seat on the platform. And we hope that transition will go quickly and quietly. Now I'm going to introduce the candidates for Irving School Board. We have seated in the order in which I'm going to introduce them. For place 2, Garrett Landry and Nell Ann Hunt. Place 2 is a single member district. So as Mona said, only the voters who live in that district will be able to vote for that. We have 2 candidates for Carrollton-Farmers Branch School Board, place 1. We have Karen Webb and James Good. Now we're going to ask the candidates to begin with their opening statements, 1 minute each. We have timekeepers in one of the front rows. We're going to go in the order in which they are seated to the audience, left to right. And so we will begin now with Garrett Landry.
I want to thank the League for this wonderful opportunity, and I want to thank each of you for attending this evening. My name is Garrett Landry, and I'm running for Irving School Board, District 2. My education is the reason I am able to sit up here today, and that I'm able to achieve these successes in my life that I have. I graduated SMU Phi Beta Kappa and magna cum laude with a degree in political science, and when I was at SMU, what I realized is every one of my peers was prepared for the opportunities in front of them. And I want to ensure that each of our students are prepared for whichever opportunity they choose to have in their future. I've worked with students and educators my entire career. I've ran a national student leadership program teaching high schoolers how to be leaders on their campus. I served as chief of staff for our local Justice of the Peace, where I focused primarily on working with our truant students in Irving ISD and making sure that they were re-engaged in our community positively rather than pushed through the criminal justice system. And I currently work with principals and educators every day working on their professional development, specifically those in urban school districts. So I look forward to answering your questions, and again, I thank you for being here tonight.
I'd like to ask the audience to hold applause until after all the candidates have a chance to speak. Thank you.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this wonderful event and about caring about things that really matter. My name is Nell Ann Hunt, and I've lived in Irving for over 40 years, and I've been a teacher, a parent, and a volunteer in the Irving ISD. I graduated with honors from Texas Tech, and I'm the founder of the Great Flag Caper, which puts out 40,000 American flags on the 4th of July all over Irving. I've been on boards, particularly the Irving Schools Foundation Board. I've been a member there, and I've chaired their fundraiser, and I was named a fellow by the Irving Schools Foundation. I've been a PTA member and room mother at TJ Lee, Farine, Travis, and MacArthur. At the YWCA, I was board president and mentor and named Volunteer with a Heart. I have taught 12 courses at Northlake College and taught reading as fundamental. I've been an art docent and the art advisory committees for Irving ISD. The board member of the, thank you.
My name is Karen Webb, and I'm here today to ask you for your vote and support for CFB School Board Trustee. I'm a product of this school district, and I choose for my children to be educated here also. I've been lucky enough to be part of this district in several ways. I've been a student, a teacher, a parent, and a trustee. In my short break from being a school board trustee, I have remained active in my children's school and PTA programs. I'm also currently a teacher for Texas Virtual Academy. My two children attend CFB ISD schools, and my oldest child is in the Gifted and Talented program, and my youngest is on the autism spectrum. Children, yours and mine, are the reason why I'm determined to rejoin the school board. I want to explore new and creative ways to inspire and educate parents, community leaders, and businesses to expand their involvement within our schools. I believe we need to provide staff and students the tools they need to succeed in today's world. I hope I can count on you for support. Thank you.
I am James Good. I'm also running for Carrollton-Farmers branch school board, place 1. I am the incumbent. I'm proud to say that we represent the west side of our school district, which is Irving. The students in that area represent 15% of our total student population, which is equivalent to the same number that Farmers Branch also provides into the Carrollton-Farmers branch. That area also generates 35% of the revenue for our budget. So what is happening? If you've driven around, you'll see a lot of construction going on. We just completed Las Colinas Elementary campus, and it will open in September. We are going to start an expansion to Freeman Elementary campus. We are starting a major renovation to Ranch View campus with a $25 million construction. And I'm proud to say one of our most important programs, our International Baccalaureate program, is contained here at Ranch View High School. Thank you.
I did want to remind the audience members who are not seated that if you have a conversation in the lobby, your words travel and the sound of your conversation travels into the audience area. So I would appreciate it if you're going to talk, you move out of the lobby. Sirs, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, now we're ready to start with the questions. Remember, each candidate is going to have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. We're going to vary the order in which they speak, so I will announce the name of each candidate when it's his or her turn to speak.
Sorry about this. Wait.
Okay, here's the first question. Please explain how you believe your education, work experience, volunteerism, and other experiences qualify you as a trustee. We're going to begin with Mr. Good.
Thank you. I've been on the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD School Board for 15 years. Prior to that time, I became involved when my oldest child started kindergarten. I became involved with PTA. I've served as an officer at the PTA elementary, middle, and high school. I've also served in establishing our school district's education foundation. Prior to that, I even served on the Town North YMCA Board of Directors on student education programs. I've been actively involved and only involved in educational programs. I currently chair the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce Education Committee, and I've done that for the past 20 years. And we focus specifically on programs and activities that benefit our students. And I believe that all of that time that I have exclusively devoted my time to education makes me well qualified to continue my service to the school district. Thank you.
Ms. Webb.
I love this question. I started off in Carrollton-Farmers branch as a student. I went to elementary, junior high, and high school there, and then I went on to do my student teaching there when I was at UNT. I became a teacher at R.L. Turner High School, and so I really learned what it means to be a teacher and a student through this district. Then after becoming a teacher, I became a board member. I found a whole new side to schooling and teaching and to education, the educational system. Now, while I was a board member, my daughter started school, so then I became a parent. And I started volunteering through PTA and just going up to the school. So during this entire time, basically, a good portion of my life, I've been part of the school, and I've learned what worked for me as a student, what worked for my friends, what worked for me as a teacher, what's worked for me as a board member, and what's worked for me as a parent. And I would really like to be able to share those insights with everybody and every teacher in this district and make sure that we all have different sides represented. Thank you.
Ms. Hunt.
My education is, I do have a teaching certificate, and I've taught in 4 different school districts, including Irving ISD. So my education has really dovetailed with this experience here. My work experience, not only have I taught, but I've been in the business community, and through that I have learned how to manage money, how to work with different kinds of people, a very diverse population. I have learned to listen to people and to hone into what their needs are. I've also been a volunteer in the schools and in other parts of the city, and I think that part is really important because I think that we all have a vested interest in our schools, and we need to get more volunteers and utilize them in the schools.
Mr. Landry.
That's a wonderful question. The 2 main things that a trustee is responsible for is being a responsible steward of the budget and passing and creating policy. My degree from SMU is in political science, and I have great experience in working in creating policies, specifically human capital policies within education. When I was the chief of staff for our local judge here, I managed a budget of over $1 million, managed a court docket of over 15,000 cases a year. And of those cases, we worked in truancy cases, specifically with our at-risk youth here in Irving. I created a pilot program with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, where every child that came through our court had to go meet with Big Brothers and Big Sisters to get a positive mentor in their life. The results of that program were astounding. Those children very rarely showed back up in our court because they had a positive relationship in their life, something that was consistent. I currently, as I said, I work with teachers and principals every day, understanding what urban school districts need, what Title I school districts need in this city and in this state. And it's a unique set of challenges, and one where you really need leaders on every campus. Creating leaders is what I've done in my career. I've created student leaders from all across the country, and now I work to create teacher and principal leaders on every campus so that it'll funnel down throughout the district. I'm currently on the board of the YMCA, and I'm a coach. I coach young children, and I teach kids how to become leaders and how to learn life lessons through sports. It's a wonderful opportunity. There's great things that you can learn through coaching young athletes, and it's something that that comes together with the policy expertise, with the educational background that qualifies me to be a trustee. Thank you.
Now we're ready for question number 2. And that question is, what is your position on teaching English to non-English speaking students? How does this comply with the state bilingual mandate? We are going to start with Ms. Hunt.
The state bilingual mandate says that if there are 20 or more children in a classroom that do not speak English, then the school must offer bilingual instruction. I believe that the Irving School District should do everything they can to teach English to children as quickly as possible to make them successful. I do not think there is one way to do that. I think there are many different avenues. I've been a teacher of English as a second language, and I know that there are many ways to reach children and many ways that they learn. But the main thing is that they need to learn English quickly and well as soon as possible. And this should be a collaborative effort with the teacher and the parent and the schools.
Mr. Landry?
Yes, we need to ensure that our children are becoming proficient in English and in their core curriculum as quickly as possible. And we need to ensure that those children are exited from a bilingual program at the very minute they're able to achieve in the classroom in both their languages. I think it is important the younger the children are, the more English they need to be taught and immersed. They will soak up that language as quick as possible in the younger ages. I think that the bilingual program, as required by the state, that certainly meets that mandate. And I think that the most important aspect is making sure our parents are aware of every single language option that is available for their child, whether it is an English immersion option, which is currently available to every parent if they choose, whether it's an early exit, which the district offers. We need to ensure that there are people at the district that are informing our parents correctly and that are allowing them to make the best decisions for their children, because in the end, it is their decision to make as a parent. Thank you.
Ms. Webb.
As a former English teacher or current English teacher, I find it that language is power. Whatever language we are born into learning, the more we have, the better. And when we come here, I think the majority of our schools in this district and in Irving both comply with the state requirement of 20 or more students, and so English is important to speak. I think we need to have choice for our parents, and that includes the two-way dual, the ESL, and exits. I think we need to stress to our children that we don't want to take away their second or initial language, but that we want to give them the power that the English language provides and that what it means to be a productive member in society. So I think that it is very important to teach all kids English, and preferably I would like to also include to teach them or continue with their second language also. Thank you.
Mr. Good.
We, just like Irving, do meet all the state requirements for the bilingual programs. We provide various programs based upon student needs and parents' interest, or even parents' request. We provide English immersion. There are many students, that's all they need. They're very fluent in their first language. They're very knowledgeable in how to speak, write, and communicate. All they want to do is make the transition to English, and they can participate in an English immersion only program. We have younger kids who are not fluent in their primary language, and they are candidates for a two-way or even a one-way bilingual program, and we provide those both programs. And the benefit is it allows the students to take what skill set they have, if they have any skill set in their primary language, and to continue to develop it along with developing their English simultaneously. What has been successful with us, and we have been doing a work study session on this recently, and that's looking at bilingual, especially two-way bilingual. And we have had tremendous results, and we have even had the opportunity to visit with some of the students who are Anglos, and their primary language is English, but by third grade they were highly fluent in two languages. Thank you.
We're ready for question number 3. What educational activity would you initiate to support improved education of students concerning the dangers and realities of human trafficking? We'll start with Ms. Webb.
Wow. Okay. I believe this is extremely important, and I would want to make sure that we have appropriate knowledge of what's going on in real world. And to me, the number one fear as a mother of a daughter who happens to be in the two-way dual language program, just wanted to get that in, is internet safety. I think that is something that is extremely important in giving our kids power and to know who they're dealing with, what they're dealing with. And also, I think the other key component is making sure that our children have a safe relationship somewhere. I think it's very important to make sure that our children feel that they have someone they can talk to. And if they have things going on at home, then they have someone at school. They have some type of mentor, some type of volunteer, something that gives them someone safe. It's when we keep secrets and when we don't give out that knowledge of what can happen and why you need to make sure we're talking to someone and you have things to discuss with, that we have most problems. So again, this is kind of one of my passions of mine, is that each student is a person to me and to most teachers. That's why we get into this business, is that we want to make that one-on-one connection. So I really feel that this, by teaching about internet safety and making sure that we have that personal relationship with each student, we can help this problem. Thank you.
Mr. Good.
Hopefully, you watched television last night because there was a special on regarding human trafficking in Cambodia, regarding primarily females. A wonderful opportunity to really understand and truly see how the world at large does or does not deal with this situation. Here in the United States, we really have the opportunity to control this to a high degree. However, programs that we have got to have to ensure is, one, we've got to develop relationships with students so they know who they can go to. They know that there are individuals they can discuss situations such as this. However, that's great, but the challenge is these students become captured in this environment, and we have to figure out how to reclaim them and re-educate them on that. And we are struggling with that. We do not know the best way. We have models that other countries have used and other states and even other cities. However, we will continue to work on this with the participation of all entities and agencies that provide safety for students. And we will strive to continue to ensure we provide that safe environment and loving relationship at the school district level. Thank you.
Ms. Hunt.
I would suggest that we have an assembly for the junior high and the high school students and discuss this openly with them and discuss all the ramifications of it and the lures and the different things that they could be caught up in without even planning or realizing it. And then I would say to them at the end that if this ever became a personal issue for them, that they should seek out the help and security of the school counselor. And simultaneously with this, I think our school counselors ought to be trained to know which agencies that they could refer children that are having these issues.
Mr. Landry.
Human trafficking is a reality in this country, and it is a reality here in Irving. A recent report from Children at Risk stated there's more than 300,000 cases a year. And when I was with the court, I saw firsthand students who were victims of child trafficking here in Irving, Texas. And the number one reason that happened is there are individuals in our society, whether we like it or not, that prey on children when they are not in the classroom, when they are truant from school. And that is the number one reason that this happens. I think there's a variety of things we can do to educate our students and to educate our district. We can work with our city council, such as what HEB does. It has the number one truancy program in the entire state. They have a daytime curfew in effect. They work with their city. They work with their police department. That really is just vigilant for children who are not on school campuses but walking around the city during school time. There are things that we can do in the classroom to teach the importance of being in class and making sure that our educators and our faculty are aware of the warning signs that these children exhibit. A lot of them are not going to want to talk about what happened to them or what's going on. It takes somebody that they trust and that is truly invested in them to understand that, look, this is something that is okay to talk about. And I don't think it's just on the shoulders of our faculty and our administrators. We have Irving police officers at every one of our high schools. They need to be trained in looking out for these warning signs as well, as we as a district pay half their salary. I think that it needs to be a team effort with the city, with the police department, and with our school district, because it is a real problem. Thank you.
We're ready for question number 4. What specific actions would you support or recommend to better prepare students for success in the workforce? We'll start with Mr. Landry.
We need to ensure that every single one of our students, by the time they graduate high school, are prepared to go to college or prepared to enter the workforce, and not just an opportunity to enter the workforce, but that they have the relationships formed, they have the skills necessary to succeed in the workforce that they want to go in. This can be done in a variety of ways. We need to expand our signature study programs, and we need to remove the caps from those programs. Right now, if you're the 151st kid at MacArthur High School, you do not get to go into the architecture program. That is a ridiculous statement that if somebody told me that my child couldn't go in because of an arbitrary number, they want to be engaged in school, but no, I'm sorry, we have a cap. We need to switch the route that we staff our schools. We need to build capacity around the need of our programs. Every child that wants to go into a signature study is going to be engaged in the classroom. When they are engaged in the classroom, they're going to learn and they're going to achieve. We need to work closely with our businesses here in Irving to have work-study programs, to have mentorship opportunities and apprenticeships that are not just the businesses coming to our schools, but that are allowing our schools and our children to go into the wonderful businesses that we have here in the city of Irving. There are an abundance of opportunities for our children. We just need to make sure that they have the opportunities to go and create the relationships when they're in high school. When they graduate, the relationships are made. And we can do this too by expanding the current program we have with our local law enforcement feeder programs, our fire department feeder programs, our City of Irving employees. These are all programs that will well prepare our children to succeed in the workforce.
Ms. Hunt.
We need to set higher goals as a school district. We need to exceed state standards. We're not an average town. We don't have average children, and we don't have average average teachers. We must set our goals and objectives to be in the top tier of schools. We need to listen to teachers who are on the front lines. We need to have anonymous surveys that teachers can fill out of what they feel works and does not work and what they recommend. We need to have tutoring after school for children that are struggling, and on the weekends and in the summer. We need to develop a strong college prep program investigating the implementation of the International Baccalaureate programs, magnet schools, and advanced STEM programs. And volunteers. Never underestimate the power of volunteers. And this is my strong suit because I've been one and have led groups of volunteers for so many years. Irving is a city that cares, and how better to show that than helping its children to succeed? We need to attend to teacher morale. Teachers want their students to be successful, and we need to encourage their creativity and have their back as they strive to make a difference. Thank you.
Ms. Webb.
My goals for helping better prepare students for success, first one is technology. Right now we use technology as an accessory and not as a need. And I really feel that, tomorrow's jobs have not yet been created. And we need to make sure our kids are ready and knowledgeable about today's technology so they're not behind when they get out into the workforce. Also, I think we need to work on leadership skills. And we need to make sure that kids understand what it means to go out and go to a proper interview. And how do you interview? How do you dress? All of those skills that our high school students need to look for. I think language, again, with dual language, two-way dual, that helps all populations of kids. Bilingual students have a much higher rate of getting a job and having that extra opportunity to find a job. I think that we need more community involvement. I know as a parent that I love to be on my students' campus, and that the staff likes us to be there and help out also. And that provides more involvement, and then parents get their businesses involved, and we can start bringing businesses into the schools. I think we need to make sure that we have internship programs. I know right now our high schools have some internship programs, but it'd be great if we went out and sought some more companies. And most importantly, I think we need to make sure that we are making our students college ready or for a trade. Thank you.
Mr. Good?
I've been espousing for the past 10 years career readiness. Unfortunately, the state has not been receptive to that. Finally, here in the last year, they finally have realized that we are not a K-16 school system. We are really a true K-12, and we need to appreciate those students. Therefore, let me give you some examples of things that we are already doing in Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD. One of our high schools R.L. Turner High School, we have a METSA Academy, our Math, Engineering, Technology, Science Academy. In those classes, we have students who are both college-bound and career-bound working on projects together. One student is working to learn the academia of that topic. The other student is working for the practical understanding and the application of it. What this has shown us, the dropout rate goes down because students will now stay in school for a longer period of time because they see the practical realization of our programs. Also, internship programs. I've had students in the engineering work at my office. It's a great opportunity for students, and they have told me they've learned in certain engineering professions they have no interest in it because they were exposed to it. And I said, great. And we have advisory committees where we work with students to help create programs that will engage them and want them to stay within those programs. Thank you.
Ready for question number 5. What are your 2 top priorities for the upcoming year? We will start with Mr. Good.
My number 1 priority is parental or parent involvement. Irving, Carrollton-Farmers branch, we all struggle with parent involvement. And we've experimented trying to find out how do you get parents involved. Sometimes it's a language barrier. Well, we found out if you take parents and get them to move off of school campuses, they will engage you. Move to churches. Parents will engage you there that they otherwise would not. We're starting to see some results from that. So we are going to continue to figure out programs to get parents involved. And parents need to understand the influence, the impact they have on their students. Another area we are working on is curriculum that is relevant to the students based upon the career paths they want, based upon the requirements and expectations. And what this means, the only way you can accomplish this is to find out really where our industry is going and then redefining our programs to adjust to those needs for industry. And what is beneficial about that, students are very engaged in that because it's a new opportunity for them, like in a Q&A, to offer thoughts and ideas on topics and subjects we never thought about. And I think we will continue the programs we have, and hopefully we'll expand other programs to engage the community at large. Thank you.
Ms. Webb?
My top 2 priorities would be technology and equipping our teachers for the special needs population growth that has come about. My first one is technology. Again, I truly believe that PowerPoints and Excel and Word documents are not enough to teach our students. We need to immerse them in the technology that is available. We need to help that be part of their life, encourage bringing cell phones and researching off of Google and how we would do things in the world. And make sure that we're using technology not just to help get students ready for college, but there is that whole group that is not going to college and to get them prepared for workforce after. As for special needs, training with teachers, and just how do we deal with this population in our district, it's a special cause for me. Again, I said my son is on the autism spectrum disorder. He is high functioning. But that group has grown from to 1 out of every 68 students to 1 out of every 50, depending on whose research you read, is affected by autism spectrum disorder. This group affects parents as well as classroom teachers and other people because the CDC has qualified this as an epidemic. But our teachers do not understand yet how to deal with the behavior issues of a Bill Gates or an Albert Einstein or all these other people that have these needs. So I think that we really need to make sure our teachers have the tools for all our children, and those are my top 2 priorities.
Ms. Hunt?
My top 2 priorities are student achievement and teacher morale. The military has a word that they use, METAL, which is Mission Essential Task List, and that is my mission essential, the student achievement and the teacher morale. The current school board has taken quantum leaps to improve our school district, in many ways in the last couple of years, and it's up to the next board to take it to a higher level. And we need to take it to when a corporation moves here, they need to be told by everyone they come in contact with in Dallas that they must go to Irving because Irving has the best school district. And I will not rest until that happens.
Mr. Landry.
I think first and foremost, we need to continue to improve our student achievement. This can be done in a variety of ways, but I think it starts with expanding our signature studies. We're an AP honor roll district, which is a wonderful honor to have. We need to expand access to our AP classes, specifically for the pre-AP classes, so that our 9th and 10th graders are prepared to excel when they're in their junior year taking their first AP class. We need to start a discussion about turning Singley Academy into a magnet school, as it was originally built to be. Our competing districts are excelling, and in the news today, Dallas ISD's magnet program is the #1 school in the entire country. That is something that we can have right here in Irving. And we need to expand our pre-K program. Every study shows that the quicker you can get a child involved in pre-K, the more they will excel, the more they will stay on grade level, and the higher earning potential they will have following graduation. That needs to be a priority. Secondly, we need to do something about the teacher retention in Irving. We pay our teachers a very good salary, especially for first-year teachers, and they're leaving our district. Nimitz High School had over 60 new teachers this past year. You cannot expect a child to succeed in the classroom when there are 60 new educators on their campus. There's no consistency. So why are they leaving? They're not allowed to teach in the classroom. There's too many mandates from the district level that are telling them what they need to do. We need to allow our principals and our schools to have more local control. Allow our teachers to make decisions on delivering of instruction. Allow our principals to make decisions regarding their budgets and how they're going to allocate their budgets and the needs of their campus. They're there every single day. So those would be my top 2 priorities.
Now we have a couple of questions from you, the audience. You're not going to see these on the screen because we don't have that magic right now. So I'll read the questions twice to make sure that you understand them. The first is, what is your position on school vouchers? What impact would this have on existing public schools? So it's, what is your position on school vouchers? What impact would this have on existing public schools? We're going to start with Mr. Landry.
I am 100% against school vouchers. They will absolutely kill our public school system. Our district is constrained already by budget cuts from the state level, and anything that will pull money out of our public school system will harm every one of our children that are in our current schools right now. So you will never see me vote in favor of vouchers.
Ms. Hunt?
I too am not in favor of vouchers. I would not like to have any of the educational money siphoned away from our public schools.
Ms. Webb?
I am for school vouchers and for school choice. I currently work for a charter school, but I also believe that competition is good for business. It's good for our schools. We need to make sure that all our students' needs are being met. Sometimes a public school is not the best situation for a specific student, and we need to make sure that that parent and that student have a choice and an opportunity for education, because that is the end result, is every child being educated. Thank you.
Mr. Good?
I have mixed feelings on that. I am open to the idea that public schools, private schools, parochial schools, charter schools, home schools, they all do serve a purpose. And what I would like to see is for us to be able to open that up. However, we have to have a level playing field so we can prove that the larger public schools can compete. And that is the struggle we get into. Sometimes they want to narrowly define a private school that would be a recipient of vouchers, and yet they leave a student deficient in other areas of their education. Therefore, a voucher system that will allow public schools to adequately compete with any other format of education, I'm okay with.
Okay, we're ready for another question from the audience. Again, I'll read it twice. Will you make the changes necessary to make Irving ISD or Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD an exemplary school district, or to continue the designation of exemplary if Carrollton-Farmers Branch already is designated? So the question is, will you make the changes necessary to make Irving ISD or Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD an exemplary school district, or to continue if Carrollton-Farmers Branch is already one? And we are going to start with Mr. Good.
Our goal in Carrollton-Farmers Branch is high achievement for all students. That is not a static statement, that's a dynamic statement. Therefore, we expect and demand academic improvement constantly throughout a student's career. And we focus on that every day, from finance to operations, even to the people who provide food service, to those who paint and cut the grass. They know that our expectation is high achievement for all of our students, and which means we expect to continue to grow and to increase the academic skill set of all students coming through our school district. And we strive to find measures to use to ensure that we are doing that. And we work with the Education Resource Group in the Woodlands, who give us excellent indicators. Are we progressing or are we not? If we're progressing, in what areas are we progressing? What do we need to do to change that so we can continue to improve? Our demand is never to be stationary or idle when it comes to our students. Everyone in this audience, we are dependent upon all of those students to be academically excelling in all areas. We all hope one day to retire, and that's what we need for the people coming after us to fill all of our positions that we don't know what they may be. Thank you.
Ms. Webb.
Yes, I plan on continuing because students are my passion. As a teacher, as a parent, as someone that is looking to a future leader, they are my passion. So whether I am lucky enough to be elected for school board, or if I'm not, I will continue to push the students of this district and other districts.
Ms. Hunt?
Yes, this is a very important issue for me. I've worked in several school districts where we've taken low-performing schools and they've become exemplary schools. It can be done, and it must be done in Irving.
I think that we need to continue to do what we are doing as a district, to always strive to be an exemplary school district, because that's what we are capable of and that's what our students deserve of us. We need to make sure we support our educators in everything that they're doing in the classroom, supporting our principals on their campuses, and supporting our administrators. We as a community are the backbone of our schools, and if our community is not strong in every one of our neighborhoods, we can do better if that's not the case. We need to raise the bar academically to where we're expecting the very best out of every one of our students. When we raise the bar and we expect our students to achieve at the highest levels, students are inherently competitive. We are competitive people. If we allow for our students to compete in the classroom, they're going to push each other to higher heights. And, you know, I serve on the Irving ISD Strategic Planning Board and have worked closely with the board and worked with our superintendent. And we only have one focus, and that's improving student achievement. And we came together on a whole series of values and beliefs and initiatives to move our district forward from people from varying viewpoints, from varying backgrounds, from varying educations. And it's all focused on student achievement. What are we going to do to drive students forward? And so, of course, every decision that I make on the board will be focused on student achievement. We'll be focused on making sure that our district and our children are getting the very best education that they can get and that they deserve.
We're ready now for the candidates to make their closing statements. They will each have up to 1 minute. We're going to start with the candidates for Irving ISD Place 2. Ms. Hunt.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you all for being here and for caring about education and about our city. I want to say that my great-grandfather founded a college. My grandfather was president of a school board. My mother was a teacher, and I've taught in 4 different school districts, including Irving ISD. I volunteered in the most challenging schools in the nation. I firmly believe that children are only a third of our population, but all of our future. There's nothing I would rather do for the next 3 years than make our school district a model for the nation. I believe that my life experiences in teaching and business, my knowledge and dedication to the city and to its families have prepared me to serve on the school board, and I would appreciate your vote.
Mr. Landry?
Again, I want to thank the League for this wonderful opportunity and for each of you for coming tonight. Being an informed voter is important, and so I urge you to look at all the resources that are available in this race. Impacting children's lives and working in education is not something that I do as a hobby. It's what I've dedicated my career to. It's what I've dedicated my life to. I go to work every single day to better the education of children and to ensure that our teachers and principals are supported in everything that they do. It is something that I will make a 100% commitment to each and every one of you, that if we are not making decisions that are going to impact students, that are going to impact teachers, we don't have any business making decisions on it as a school board trustee, because that is not what we are tasked to do. We need to grow our neighborhoods, and we need to make sure that our entire community is on board with what our district can do and can achieve, and I will do everything that I can to ensure that that happens. I thank you.
And now the candidates for Carrollton-Farmers Branch, Place 1. Mr. Good.
I have additional information in the back that provides personal information. I've been actively involved in providing programs for students for their enhancement and their improvement. As I've stated previously, for the school district, in addition to serving on the school board, I was actively involved in getting an education foundation established. I have promoted and been able to continue advisory committees for select programs to get professionals in our community to come in and to participate, whether it be in science, engineering, medical professions, whatever. I've also chaired the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce for many years, and during that time, I've helped establish the Chamber's education program where we provide scholarships for students, whether they be going to college or maybe trade schools. I've also, I better close. But my question is primary to you. What will the next generation of students look like? It's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Ms. Webb?
Okay, I just want to remind you of a few things, that I am a parent, a former board member, a teacher, and a community member. And all of these hats that I wear, sometimes I feel like they struggle against each other, and I wonder, how must it feel if I'm struggling with myself? How is it for others? I just want to help remind everyone that we all have the same goal. Every hat, every teacher, administrator, everyone has the same goal, and that is to help our students be the best they can be and to be prepared to become part of the society, whether it be workforce or college. So I want to be able to use those insights that I have to make sure that me as a teacher, front line, my voice is out there, my friends, the people I know, the parents, that we have a voice. Every voice needs to come together and remember that we are here for the students. And again, I haven't been able to say everything, but if you'd like to know more, you can go to Karen Webb for schoolboard, all one word.com. Thank you.
Now let's thank all the candidates for coming here tonight and sitting in the hot seat and answering your questions. We'd like for the school board candidates to quickly and quietly leave the platform, and we're ready to have the mayor and city council candidates come up and take your place. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. First, we're going to give a few words about the candidates. This is the mayor and city council for Irving. The mayor position is an at-large position, which means that all the voters in the city of Irving can vote for the mayor. Place 3 is a single-member district. Only voters living in that district may vote for these candidates. And Place 5 is also a single-member district. Only voters living in that district may vote for these candidates. The candidates are, for mayor, we have Beth Van Dyne, the incumbent, Herbert Gears. For Place 3, Billy Hickman and Dennis Webb. Mr. Webb is the incumbent. For place 5, Oscar Ward and Rose Canaday, and Ms. Canaday is the incumbent. We're going to give each candidate 1 minute for opening remarks, and then we're going to have questions, and each candidate will be able to answer each question that's asked. And again, we're going to vary the speaking order so that different candidates will go first on different questions. If you have a topic that you would like to ask, we already have all the questions, thank you. So you don't need to write them on the index cards. Remember, all candidates will answer every question, and therefore they should be of general interest and not about a particular candidate. Okay, candidates, we're going to ask you to please be courteous. I'm sure you will be. Speak into your mic, and don't forget to turn off the mic when you're through, or else you might, we might hear something you didn't want us to hear. You'll have 1 minute each for closing remarks, a minute for each for closing statements, and then when we ask the questions, you'll each have 1.5 minutes to respond. So this portion of the forum should last about 60 minutes. Now we're going to begin with the opening statements, and they're going to be given in the order in which the candidates are seated to the audience, left to right. So we'll begin with Ms. Van Dyne. 1 minute.
Well, thank all of you for coming out here, and I really appreciate your interest in city council races, because it's always very difficult for us to get more people involved in coming down for municipal races. My name is Beth Van Dyne. I was on the city council from 2004 to 2010, so for 6 years, and then I've been mayor since 2011. When I came in, it was basically, I think the citizens of Irving wanted a new start. They wanted a clean slate, and we've had some fantastic meetings. We've had lots of discussion. I've been a resident of the city of Irving since 1986. I've got 2 kids who are actually in the audience with me. I've got a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. I have been fighting against tax increases. I've been fighting for the best use of our revenues, and I am a strong supporter of resident issues. Oh, and I still have 10 more seconds. And I'm asking for your vote tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Gears.
Thank you all for being and for watching as well. I am Herbert Gears. I was proud to serve for 12 years as an elected official in our community, 6 as a council member and 6 as mayor. We accomplished a great deal to improve the quality of life for our city. I initially got into this race for one reason, that is to make life better for the elderly. You know, we proposed a tax cut. You know, right now, seniors pay about $25 million a year in property taxes, and we think that as a city, the state law allows us to reduce those taxes down about $5 million. They'll still be paying about $20 million. But it's a kind of relief that we think that seniors deserve. During the campaign, of course, we've been able to look at lots of different issues, and taxation of elderly leads you to taxation in general. You know, after we left, the city raised the tax rate to its highest rate in our history and have kept it there for the last 3 years. And with the tax base growth that we've had, of course, that means we've had tax increases. So we'll be talking about variations of tax reform, and we've got some other ideas, but hopefully we'll get out and support making a change in the mayor's race. Thank you.
Mr. Hickman.
Hi, I'm Billy Hickman. I'm a lifelong resident of Irving. I grew up here, went to John Haley, Lamar, Nemitz, graduated in 1998. I love Irving. That's why I'm running. I look at my daughter, and I want her to love Irving as much as I do. I think we're headed in the right direction. We've made some very big, bold strides recently. Being in place 3, I look at the mall, and that's one of the things I'm focused on. I enjoy our local businesses. Got many friends who own businesses here in Irving. I want to get those folks in the mall. I want the mall to be something that we can all be proud of. Not saying that just because I live right next to it, but because I'd rather go there, keep the money in Irving, than go elsewhere to Grapevine or South Lake or something like that. So thank you all for being here. I look forward to getting to speak to you all and getting to know most of you, maybe not each and every one of you, but maybe getting to shake a hand or two. Thank you.
Mr. Webb.
Yes, my name is Dennis Webb. I am running for re-election for District 3. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Irving. I've been living actually in the Bear Creek community, which predates the city of Irving. Ever since I was 5 years old. I'm 55 now, and you can do the math. I've been living in the city limits of Irving since 1982. I still live in the same house that I had built back in 1982 in District 3. I'm finishing up my first term on the City Council. I've learned a lot being on the City Council that I think will help me to be a better City Council member of the second term. We have a great city. We have a lot going for us. At this time, we really need experienced leadership to continue to lead us down the road that we have been going toward making our city even better city. So I just ask those of you that live in District 3, which is everything west of Beltline, to consider me when you go to the polls. Thank you, and thank y'all for coming.
Mr. Ward.
Yes, thank you and good evening. I'd like to first thank the Irving League of Women Voters for holding this event. I think it's a great community service you've done for a number of years. I've been a resident of Irving for 47 years. I'm married to Kay Ward. She's out in the audience. I have 2 sons that graduated from Irving ISD school system and 4 grandchildren. My wife and I are very active and support a number of Irving organizations, including a number of nonprofits. I'm running as an independent business candidate. I'm a member of both chambers, the Greater Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce and Irving Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Just want to make a quick shout out and a thank you to Chris Wallace. He has done a great job. He's leaving our city. He's done a great job in economic development for this city. Why am I running? What are my qualifications? I have 3. Number 1, my education. I have an engineering degree, Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering. Boy, that's quick. And from the University of Houston, also I have an MBA in Finance from the University of Texas at Arlington. My management background, a career, I'm a retired guy. I have a record of leadership, service with the City of Irving. Thank you.
Ms. Canaday.
Here. Thank you. I'm Rose Canaday, and I'm running for re-election in District 5. In 2007, when I first ran for the City Council, the city was stagnant in growth, and people wanted change. That included me. And I felt that my educational background in banking, real estate development, marketing, and psychology made me a perfect fit for City Council. I've been active since being on council I chair the Texas High-Speed Rail. I've worked to get DART into the airport. I'm vice president of Tex 21, which is another transportation organization. And I led the movement to get our new library system built. I've been involved in a lot of different roles, or particularly a leadership role in getting the entertainment venue built. And I've also played a role in identifying and getting a new water source for this city. I'm married to Lowell Canaday. Together we have 6 children and 19 grandchildren. My 20th grandchild will be born May the 31st. And so I just want you to remember, when you go to the polls, vote Rose Canaday.
Now we're ready to go to the questions. Question number 1, which you'll see on the screen. Please explain how you believe your education, work experience, volunteerism, and other experiences qualify you for the position you seek. Now we're going to vary the speaking order, so I will announce the name of each candidate when he or she is to speak. We will start with Mr. Webb.
Simply, I believe my education, actually I don't have a college degree. I spent some time in college, mostly Bible college, but I think my greatest asset is, number 1, I got a servant's heart. I like serving people. Number 2, I've got a lot of experience in leadership. I'm the senior pastor and founder of the Bear Creek Community Church located on Finley Road, which I started 18 years ago in my den. I was one of the founders of the Grand Prairie Firefighters Association. I was also one of the founders of the Bear Creek Development Corporation, which was the first community housing development corporation in the city of Irving. I've been involved in leadership all over the place. I've served on the city Planning and Zoning Commission here a full term. I was reappointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2010. So I have a lot of leadership experience. I've volunteered tremendously in all areas. My church, we've formed the first community garden in the city of Irving. And I did a lot of volunteer work out there, making that come to fruition. So basically, I just think that I have demonstrated over the last 20-something years or so of my civic involvement and just basically my leadership experience in organizing and starting a lot of different entities that I'm qualified to continue to serve as a city council member.
Mr. Hickman.
Some of you may know me, probably watching at home, may know I've been called a leader most of my life. It's always come with a caveat. You're a leader, we just don't know where you're leading people to. So hopefully I've kind of rehabbed my image a little bit since I was a youngster. But let me just tell you about, I've worked as a grocery sacker. I've sold shoes. I've done tile in Highland Park. I've done tile in South Irving. I've worked at construction sites. I currently work for the schools. I've waited tables. I've worked at a pizza joint. I've done a lot of things. I've stacked empty bottles at a factory before. What am I saying with all that? I'm saying that I know the people of Irving because I am the people of Irving. I've worked in an office. I know what a suit and tie feels like, just like I know what wearing jorts and a t-shirt and sweating and having dirt underneath my nails every day feels like. That's where I'm coming from. I look at all that. I look at the volunteer work I've done through my church, through just different aspects with city groups. I don't go out and proclaim this is all the stuff I've done. If you want to look it up, you can. If you want to ask people about me, you can. I tend to just go about my business, head down, get the work done, and move on. So hopefully that's enough. So my time's up anyways, but.
Wait, you can finish your sentence when time is up, but please, no long run-on sentences. Ms. Canaday.
I think mine's still on. I forgot to cut it off. Yes, I've been involved in public service since I was a young person. I learned it from my family, and I was always involved a lot growing up in various organizations and helping others. Prior to coming to Irving, I had, with 4 other women, we established the women's branch of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for Texas. I have worked with Martha Weisen in Dallas to establish the Blue Foundation, which is for police over there. And when I came to Irving, I established the Irving Police Banquet and the notorious Brass Pig Award, and also started the Irving Police Foundation, which helps police families in a crisis. I've served as the president of the Police Chief Spouses Worldwide, which involved every state in the country and 130 other countries outside of this area. And so I have done an awful lot. I also sat on the executive board of the Irving Schools Foundation, and I have served in many different ways in this community. Once I got on council, a lot of my service came because I have basically served on almost every board and committee that we have except 2 that I can think of. So that takes up a great deal of your time. But I think that my education in banking and real estate development have come in handy, and the marketing, because that's primarily what's been going on in District 5 is all the new development. And so that has been very helpful to me. So thank you.
Mr. Ward.
Yes, ma'am. My education includes a Bachelor of Science degree in Engineering from the University of Houston and an MBA in Finance from the University of Texas at Arlington. My education is very relevant to serving on the council. Transfers to the business decisions assigned to the council members. My management background in private industry includes P&L responsibility, workforce management, incentive program designs, and team building. I came from the construction building materials industry. I have a record of leadership service with the City of Irving that includes being chairman of the Building and Standards Commission 2 of the years, 2 most recent years as chairman, and have served a total of 4 years on that commission. The current charter requires when you file for a candidate, you must resign from the commission, and that's what I did when I filed for this position. Also, I'm very proud to have served and had the honor to be elected and serve as chairman of the Charter Review Committee in 2012. I see one of my fellow committee members out here in the audience. It was a very good committee. There was 9 of us. Each 9 of us was selected by a city council member. We've met from September 2012 through the mid-December of 2012, and our final product was 25 amendments for recommendation to change the city charter. It went to the city council. They discussed it and approved it, and we successfully voted it in May of 2013. Very proud of that. My volunteer work includes Sunrise Rotary, Ambucks, and my neighborhood association where we reached many citizens that needed assistance.
Mr. Gears.
Well, I think the most relevant experience would be, in my case, the 6 years that I served in the role that I'm asking to serve in now. We achieved great results. The city during that period created over 20,000 jobs. In our first 3 years, we grew the tax base by $4.5 billion, which allowed us to reduce, the tax rate, for citizens. We set record low crime rates, reduced crime 40%. We invested $40 million into South Irving redevelopment, demolished, over 1,000 substandard apartments, and made way for progress for the future, to help South Irving. So, we invested in our city. We built the Irving Convention Center. We worked hard and built the Irving Health Clinic, and we went from worst to first, in animal care with the animal care campus and dog park. And, those kinds of things happen, because of leadership and teamwork, not just leadership. You can be an outspoken person, but that doesn't make you a leader, it just makes you an outspoken person. Results are achieved, when you find common ground and are able to nurture teamwork. And that's what's been missing for the last few years. And so in some degrees we've stalled. We're going the wrong direction. With taxes, we've increased spending, by $15 million a year, on the general fund budget. So, we're offering ourselves up here to serve. We're coming in with a mission to first help those who need it most and provide a small tax cut to seniors. We can do that with a 2% impact on our budget. We can talk more about that, and I hope you'll support that. Thank you.
Ms. Van Dyne.
Hi. My undergraduate degree was from Cornell University, actually in city and regional planning and government. I was a neighborhood volunteer before I ever even ran for council. I was also a PTA board member. My professional career, I have worked in a number of Fortune 500 companies as well as small businesses. I work on budgets, I work on strategic plans, I work on branding, and I work on marketing. I was a council member for 6 years, and a number of the projects that the mayor just mentioned I championed. One of the things that I did not champion, though, was the increase in taxes and the increase in fees during those 6 years, which included increase in property taxes, increased sewer rates, increased water, increased sanitation, drainage fees, a brand new franchise fees that we added, new energy charges that we put in at that time, and an ambulance fee that we added. So while we might not consider those taxes, if you're having to pay them just to be a resident in the city of Irving, that's a tax. And I did fight against every single one of those increases. When I was elected mayor, I created a CEO roundtable. I wanted to work with some of our larger businesses, and I wanted to get their input on what we were doing. I wanted to get their involvement in our school districts. I wanted to get to find out why they weren't having their executives live here. I also worked with small businesses, and we have a regular breakfast where small businesses can come and tell us what they need. I'm on the DFW Airport Board, which means I can talk regionally with the rest of our region to figure out what the #1 economic driver is in our community. I'm vice chairman of the U.S. High-Speed Rail Association. I'm the Texas chairman of Community Leaders of America. And I'm on the U.S. Conference of Mayors, where I was recently just elected to their board. I'm on their education committee and their water committee, fighting at the state and federal level for more money to come back to our city.
Okay. Question number 2. Let's talk about water. What do you see as the best strategy to secure water needs for Irving over the next 75 years? We'll start with Mr. Ward.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Go first. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The city consumes, I did a little research, an average of 37 million gallons per day, with 85% that coming from the city-owned sources, and the rest is purchased from others. It is estimated an additional 25 million gallons per day will be required in the next 50 years. How do we achieve the additional 25 to 30 million gallons per day and for the future? First, I'm proud to say that our city's Director of Water Utilities and other related staff members have done an outstanding job in working on presenting alternatives for our future water needs. I want to compliment the councils of the past that provided us the water needs at Lake Cooper. So the city staff is, number 1, purchasing the Southeastern Oklahoma water, which is still in litigation, with the consideration of the monies already spent on options for pipeline right-of-ways. Number 2 is an alternative. The Ralph Hall Reservoir permit has been approved, and Irving could secure a portion of that water and source. And 3, the participation in the North Central Water Region C plan to secure additional water with other region cities. The recently passed Texas Water Development Board will soon be fully staffed, and evaluations for funding water requests will begin with a $2 billion balance for cities to apply for the loan. Thank you very much.
Ms. Canady.
Yes, I've worked over the last few years when we had Dean International with us, and we identified with the pipeline that goes out east, we identified a route through the Chaparral and Kiamichi, their old rail lines, deserted, that gives us a straight shot into Lake Hugo, which is in Oklahoma. That lake refills 8 times a year, and our current lake that we own in East Texas refills 1 time a year. That's why this one is so important, and this pipeline would run right past the Lake Ralph Hall that will be built, and there potentially is areas for other lakes to be built along this same pipeline. People have been concerned about the cost of that and everything, but I've worked with cities all over northeast and west Texas in this area of our west of our city that are interested in either buying water from us or participating in the building of the pipeline. Water is going to be the gold of the next century. It's going to be imperative for our growth. If we don't have water, the corporations won't stay, companies won't stay. We have water usage is going to be really a main focus for our city. And right now, we have contracts that are coming up this summer, and we really haven't done enough. I've gotten phone calls from people out on the Kiamichi and involved with them, or the Chaparral, and nobody's been in touch with them, and they don't know what's going on. And so we've got some work we got to do in order to sew that up. And so that's our focus, and I do believe that the lawsuit that the Indians have filed in Washington, that they will win their lawsuit for Oklahoma for them to be able to sell their water from Oklahoma to us. Thank you.
Ms. Van Dyne.
You waited till I opened that bottle of water, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I believe part of what we have to do is realize that, one, it's a regional approach. I mean, it's not just the city of Irving that needs water, it's the entire region. And we are the fastest growing region in the country right now. Dallas-Fort Worth area is rapidly becoming the 3rd largest metroplex in the country. New York being first, LA being second, and Chicago currently being 3rd. But we have a lot of businesses that are moving down here, and we have a ton of people moving down here. And we need to make sure that we are looking at future water supplies. It is going to be a multi-prong approach. Not only do we have to look at what new resources are, but we're also going to have to look at reuse water and conserving currently what we have. Yesterday, Congressman Pete Olson was in town, and I talked to him. I said, look, part of the problem that we have is right now we're not working with the federal government. The federal government with the EPA is actually fighting against us. We need to work at a state level to get our reservoirs, when we're looking at new water, built at a reasonable cost. Right now, there are things that stand in our way as a region, as a city, of acquiring these. We need to lobby. We need to have great relations with our other mayors, for example, in Texas, so that when we go to D.C., we can come as a group and say, this is what our regional plans are. Region C is the region that the state has us in, and they have a phenomenal water plan. There's just one problem. They have no funding for it. So in addition to coming up with a plan, we also have to figure out how we're going to get funding. And working as a team from a regional approach is how we're going to do that.
Mr. Gears.
Yeah, I agree that a regional approach, has much more potential to be successful. However, it is an Irving problem. Irving is a water entity. There are 4 or 5 of those in North Texas, and we do own a 90-mile pipeline, that extends out to the east, and we have options on right-of-way through Kiamichi Railway and then the Chaparral Trail to complete the pipeline. The pipeline's important because however water winds up coming from East Texas and any of the reservoirs, or from Oklahoma for that matter, if you can't get through the pipeline and get over here, then it really doesn't do that much good for you. So we're really in the catbird seat there because we invested $200 million over a period of 40 years to have that pipeline and of course, own and build Lake Cooper. Now, we currently own 25,000 acre-feet of water in Lake Hugo. We have the water rights for that amount of water that would sustain us for another 50 years. So it's a matter of getting through all the challenges of getting the water here. Of course, there are legal battles that I believe we're still engaged in, but that pursuit continues. I was encouraged briefly when we had a group of mayors, our mayor and Mayor Rollins, come together and have a big photo op and press conference and say we're going to engage in all types of water conservation. I think that's a path we need to take. Of course, Dallas passed their measures to do that, but we were unable to get that passed here because we haven't had the kind of teamwork that we'd had in the past. So that effort failed. So we didn't implement the conservation measures that the mayors had agreed to. But again, there's hope for the future with
Thank you, Mr.
conservation as
Gears.
well.
Mr. Hickman?
Basically, everything they've said was what I was gonna say. It's a very narrow question. The water in Lake Hugo, we've already paid for. It's ours. It's just getting it across the border that's kind of the stickler right now. That's obviously going to be first and foremost the best solution, unless we get 12 feet of rain over in East Texas to fill up that lake that we get the water from presently. The conservation effort, I think, right now we're at stage 3 water restrictions, I believe. I heard, right, and I think I heard another city, they're down to like no watering at all during the week right now. I think they went to stage 4. I don't know how it translates. DEFCON's different and anything. Anyways, but water conservation like that, just, I'll say this, and for me to say don't let the grass grow, you got to understand, I mow lawns for a living. Grass growing is job security for me. But drinking water is also a pretty big deal. And I would rather get it from the tap than have to buy bottles, obviously cheaper. So another effort there that I read about in the paper is turning the wastewater into drinking water, which I guess you can throw a million Brita filters out there and we can see what that does for us. So,
Mr. Webb?
I think the first strategy that has to take place is that we have to make it a priority. And it has got to become a priority above some of the other priorities that we have. Everybody up here, I agree with, we need to find more water sources, especially east of here because that's where all the rain is. But we have to make it a priority, and we have to be willing to do what we have to do, spend the money we have to spend, lobby where we have to lobby, go against the grain where we have to go against the grain to ensure that we take care of Irving's water needs. I agree with the mayor. It is a regional plan, and we do have to work regionally together to secure our water needs, but I also agree with the former mayor that this is an Irving problem. The citizens of Dallas is not going to care if I turn my tap on and I don't have any water coming out of it. So I have to take care of the citizens of Irving. One of the things also that we need to do is we need to really focus on our infrastructure, our pipes. I read once that it was a certain large percentage of water that is lost due to broken pipes, leaking pipes within our cities. So we need to invest in our infrastructure and make sure that we're able to make sure that we're not losing a lot of water because of broken pipes. Water reuse, that's already in effect now. There's water reuse that's being used from the TRA plant, and I think that's something else that we need to look at. But I think probably the greatest strategy is we need to make it a priority above everything else because water is going to be the new oil.
Mr. Webb, you gave us a segue to question number 3. Where there's water, you've got to have sewer lines. So Irving's infrastructure, are we going to see question number 3? Hello? Irving's infrastructure, highlighted by the older water and sewer lines in South Irving, definitely needs attention. How would you prioritize this need, and what actions would you recommend? We are going to start with the mayoral candidates. Mr. Gears.
Well, it costs money, of course, and we spend the money. That's why we have water rate increases. We have long-term plans for replacing all variations of pipe and all variations of condition and ages. And certainly it's important to understand that although now, the Las Colinas area is 50 and 60 years old, and we're having the same types of issues, but of course, you'll find the older parts of Irving in South Irving. But, it's not just the water pipe infrastructure that needs attention in South Irving. It's South Irving in general. We in the last 12 months, the city has given away $136 million in tax grants and another $200 million in future tax rebates and abatements, to developers, tax money, all of which has gone into North Irving. Not 1 cent for South Irving. Now, I've been gone for 3 years, but that's not how we did it in the past. We had a commitment to South Irving. we had to stand up and say we got to make a significant investment, not only just in the infrastructure, we know we have to do that, but more than that, to create a change. We began to see change, we began to see progress, we began to see activity, and we don't see that now. And so I'm here to tell you that we heard a lot about it before we became mayor. This South Irving neglect is sin, and sin has returned to Irving.
Thank
so
you.
that we're gonna change that direction as well.
Ms.
Thank you.
Van Dyne.
So I'm going to take a different strategy, and I'm actually going to answer the question that was asked. It was about water and sewer lines in South Irving and how we're going to prioritize this. Part of the problem that we have is we do have an aging infrastructure, and a lot of the focus over the last 6 years under the previous mayor was spent on Lost Plains Entertainment Center. A lot of the money was wasted. A lot of the money in South Irving, we had said that we were going to focus on Main Street, and we were going to look at this heritage area, and what we ended up doing was buying a bunch of properties. And by the way, those properties, at the end of the day, we ended up spending over $40 million for properties that were worth about $9 million. That's what their money went for, that all of this change that we were talking about. We want positive change. When we look at what we're doing in the water and the sewer lines, we're coming up right now with a master plan. We are having our staff look at what is the aging area? Where do we have new construction going in? Where are we going to have homes that are going to be built? Because we're looking at 100 new homes right here on Delaware. Where is the new infrastructure going to have to be built? And how are we going to prioritize that? Looking at brand new infrastructure, but at the same time, coming up with a strategic plan, a strategy of how we're going to pay for the aging infrastructure and what has to be replaced. Because you've seen the streets, and we have bandages all over the streets, right? At some point in time, we're actually going to have to look at prioritizing and coming up with a master plan. We are in the midst right now of doing just that. Instead of doing things in piecemeal, we're going to look at it overall. And I would say in South Irving, we are doing tons in South Irving right now, but guys, just saw I have 5 seconds left, so we'll get into that. But instead of wasting money on projects that don't go anywhere, I would really prefer to look at our money and spending it on projects that are actually going to get built.
Mr. Webb. Please hold your applause.
I think the first thing I would do is I would ask the experts, and the experts are, we have people who work in our water departments. They know more than I do about these infrastructure and what needs to be prioritized. So I think we need to really focus on having our staff tell us, okay, this is the older parts of town, this is what needs to replace. City Council, we can replace them, we need you to come up with the money. So then what it comes down to then is, does the council have the constitution to do what it takes to come up with the money to do what staff need to do to replace the infrastructure? To me, that's where it falls with me as a council member. If I could prioritize every old sewer line in the city and say replace every one of them tomorrow, but we all know it costs millions and millions of dollars. The question becomes, am I willing to do what it takes, including possibly raising your water rates, to make sure that all of the infrastructure in the city is taken care of? So basically, I would recommend whatever my staff would recommend to me, who we pay well to tell us, what our infrastructure situation is, and then I'll try my best to get them the funds they need without bankrupting the city. But I'll try my best to make sure that I support what they say they need.
Mr. Hickman.
Along those same lines, obviously, as I stated prior, I mow lawns, so there's going to have to be somebody above my pay grade to answer all the engineering stuff about what needs to be done. But as a citizen, because I'm touting myself as a citizen, not a politician, as a citizen, I would like to see, we're going to redo some of these water lines and sewer lines, and we're going to tear the roads up. Let's try to get more than one job done at the same time. And I know that all costs money, but hear me out. For me, I look at all the construction that we got going all over the place, and I see bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here, and so everywhere you turn, you're stuck in some kind of traffic jam, or there's the orange cone. If we're going to do this, let's focus on an area, say, boom, we'll get that done, and then we'll move on to the next one. Let's not start 20 different projects at once, get crazy, throw a bunch of money at stuff, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, we don't want to go that direction, and away goes that money. So,
Mr. Ward.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with Mr. Webb. I mean, for setting priorities, we've got an outstanding staff here in the city of Irving, and let them dictate the schedule in terms of what should be done first, what section of town in South Irving. And I can relate to South Irving. I said earlier, I'm a 47-year resident of Irving. 35 of those years was in South Irving. And I really can relate to South Irving and what's taking place there and the aging pipelines and sewer lines in that part of the city. So therefore, the city staff, we have a sharp city staff in the water department. Let them set the priority. And it's up to us to spend the money like it should be spent. And again, when it comes to funding, I'm always protecting the city's AAA bond rating. But we need to get that accomplished. We need to take care of the citizens of Irving and South Irving, to take care of the sewer lines and the water lines that are deteriorating. Thank you very much.
Ms. Canaday.
Yes, I think it was around 2008 in our strategic plan, we did draw out a design to replace the pipelines. It was all focused in South Irving because that's where so many of the old pipes are. They're 40, 50 years old. I have a picture I keep of one that we took that shows the inside of these pipes that's just corroded with iron. It just looks terrible, and every time they had to backwash them, people's water would run red. So we were methodically replacing these pipelines and doing more than just when they broke. We stopped patching them. We began digging up and replacing whole lines. So that has been going on. However, I agree with the mayor with the new development that's going to come. If we build these homes in Delaware Creek and we start building more in the Heritage District, these pipes are all going to blow. And so you're going to have major problems down here. And it really does need to be a priority, and we need to put more finances into that area. We do have the lowest water sewer rates in this whole region, but and part of that's because we've had our own pipeline to East Texas, so our water is cheaper than other cities pay. But you know, at some time you're going to have to figure out what it's going to take to really bring South Irving up, because the pipelines are way beyond the age that they should be in use. So we're going to have to take action and really see how much of the budget we're going to direct that way.
Okay, moving on. Question number 4. Discuss your vision on the development of the Texas Stadium site. We're going to start with Mr. Hickman.
All right, I get to go first. I don't know how many of y'all were here for the town hall meeting where they showed all the plans for it. Man, I'm on board with that. They're all pretty much the same. I like the hotels. I like the apartments kind of over the shops on the bottom. Because what I envision there is we go outside of the city to go to boutiques and stuff like that. I see that as kind of like a high-end, but right next door to that high-end place, we've got one of our local artisans in there. You know, whether it be like a little place where you can, like art gallery, or somebody who sells crafts that they make, going hand in hand. So it's a mixture of what is offered in other cities, and then a mixture of what the city has to offer. Next door to that, we got a plenty of green space I saw on there, which I think is important, because this won't be just a place that these people live for 5 days, you know, or 7 days a week, and then they leave and go to work in Dallas and then come back. You know, they're just kind of transient. The green space allows other people to come and enjoy that area as well that aren't interested in boutiques, probably like myself. My wife maybe, on the other hand. But you have this green space, and so you've got this area that is appealing, which is real nice since we have the 183 project running right through there. We're going to be widening it, getting a bunch more people flowing through there. So let's give them something to look at and something we can all be proud of.
Mr. Webb.
Actually, what I would like to see on that site is something that's going to be a draw from all over North Texas, where it's going to be that unique place that everybody want to go to and go see, go be a part of. I don't know what that's going to look like, but whatever it is, I want it to be like a magnet that not only draws people, but also complements what we're doing in the urban center. You know, the fact that we have that dark orange line coming through from the DFW airport basically into downtown Dallas with a dart stop there at the Texas Stadium site. You know, we need to take advantage of that so that when people fly in from other countries or whatever, and on their way downtown or on their way wherever, they see this development that they have just got to go and see what it's all about. So what is that? mixed-use development, Galleria type mall. I don't know, but whatever it is, I want somebody to really come up with something that is going to be iconic, because that's a very iconic, site. That was the site of the stadium with the hole in the roof. I want something to replace it that's just as iconic, so that we don't have to have people saying that's where the Cowboys used to play. We don't want the Cowboys, being remembered anymore after we do something on that site. We want that site to be so great that they'll never even think about the Cowboys again.
Mr. Ward.
The future development of the Texas Stadium site, which is about 79 acres, is currently being reviewed with the developer and the city staff under a 6-month MOU. And the vision they presented includes an upscale retail shop, some housing, a little bit of entertainment, some green space, like Mr. Webb. It should be a very iconic details in the architecture. The final details are not yet available to be seen. The decision on the funding part is where my interest kicks in. Will it be public-private or versus 100% private project? Probably public-private will soon be forthcoming. The effects on our triple bond rating will be the important consideration when I'm on council and approving the expenditures, how we fund this project. This could be an excellent use for the property. The current design, I don't have a real problem with what they have. But the other factor that's so important with that site is the adjacent acreage. The adjacent landowners, about 300 acres, is principally owned by the University of Dallas and Central Freight Lines. So we go forward with this site, have a beautiful product. We want to be sure when those properties are developed that they certainly complement whatever the final product is on that site. So thank you very much.
Ms. Candidate? Yes, that site is what we consider a gateway into our city, and so it has a very prominent place. I've envisioned something significant there because, when you used to drive in, you did see the Texas Stadium, and I kind of thought we may wind up with a corporation or something or whatever, but it doesn't look like that will pass. But nevertheless, the charrette that took place, we're part of it. These architects came from all over the country, and they had some really great ideas, and they were looking at kind of like building a village down there that would have homes, theaters, restaurants, and other types of things. And they had a lot of great ideas on how to build it and buffer it from the sound, and also with the way the freeway of 183 curves up, that they would be lighting under the freeway like they have in Singapore, and some really interesting ideas. But I agree that the properties that are there all need to work together so that, I know at one time there were some people trying to buy the freight company property to put in storage buildings over there. So we really want to prevent that type of development coming in. We want the University of Dallas, and I believe the freight property has already sold. I don't know who bought it. But this acreage is tremendous. And I've also often looked over when I've driven past where the freight and the FedEx is back there. It's right on a levee. There's nothing to keep us from building a river walk like in San Antonio there. You could cut into the levee and then build around it, and I think that would be really exciting. We've got some problems with the site that are going to have to be dealt with that is going to cost a lot of money, and so, but we'll see what comes out of this MOU when the time is up. Ms. Van Dyne?
Well, I'm really excited about the Texas Stadium because I don't know how many people in this room are sick of driving by and looking at that staging area, but I'm one of them. That is a huge entryway into our system, and regardless of whether or not you're leaving the north side of the airport or the south side of the airport, you're going to Dallas, you're driving by that. I would love to be able to see a multi-use area over there. Something that's like, we keep hearing the word iconic, and I love that word. Something unique, something special. It's a destination area. The plans right now that we've seen include housing, they include park areas, wonderful restaurants, high-end retail, shopping so that we don't have to go outside, places that people can go to watch the movies. There's a movie theater, there's boutique hotels, there's also 2 commercial towers that they're looking at. Really taking advantage of the $1 billion that the city has invested into the DART line, because that's going to go right by it. What we need to do, though, is focus on getting the right developer. And as was mentioned earlier, we do have Oliver McMillan. And to me, we've gotten ourselves in trouble in the past by showing great, pretty pictures out there, but not really having a developer with the experience or the funding to be able to get these projects off the ground. We talk about them and then we talk about them. One of the things that really drew me to Oliver McMillan is that they have experience doing this. They're currently doing a $600 million project in Houston and a $450 million project in Buckhead. They've got the ability to get this done. When they brought all those people in for the charrette, they paid for them, the city didn't. Now we're taking our time and we're going to be looking and negotiating to make sure that we get the best deal for the city, but I'm optimistic that this time that you're looking at the pictures, you're actually going to see the project be built.
Mr. Gears.
Yeah, there's certain realities that we should probably disclose about the project. Of course, we all want the best, and we all have a vision for what's going to be the most successful development, iconic, lots of different ways to describe it. We've gone through this process before. We had Forest City, in fact, probably 10 times larger than this current developer, with successful developments all over the country and right here in this region as well, looking at the site and doing the same thing. Essentially, the developer has secured the site. That's what happens in development projects. And then they'll put forward, as the mayor has said, lots of pretty pictures, and they help to go out and get something financed. In the end, they come back for a few $100 million of tax money from the citizens, and if it makes sense to do that, then you get the kind of project you want. TxDOT will be on the site till 2019 with the lease. The highway construction won't be complete then. They're short about $450 million to complete the Diamond Interchange. So much likely TxDOT's going to try to fight to stay there because it really makes a big difference with what they're constructing, which makes a difference in the future. If you want to get them out of there early, you got to provide a replacement site and pay for their moving and give them their money back, because they paid us in advance for the lease. So it's a little bit unrealistic for Oliver McMillan or whoever they are to say they're going to cut the ribbon on 1,200 apartments and a tennis center and a couple of office buildings and a lot of restaurants in 2017. We know that's not going to happen, but that's not the point. It's important that we always continue to see what we can get and get the best project for the Texas Stadium site.
Question number 5 is going to be our last question because we're running short on time. It is, what are your 2 top priorities for the coming year? Are you going to put it up on the screen? Question number 5. What are your 2 top priorities for the upcoming year? We'll start with Ms. Cannaday.
Well, we've just discussed one of them. It's going to be water because our clock is ticking on the contracts that we have to hold our lease that we have, or the deal we have with Chaparral and Kiamichi. And if we lose that, that'll be a great loss to us. We will have lost money we've already invested in that. And so we need to have that as a primary focus. The other one we've also talked about is infrastructure, and I think it's at a critical point in South Irving, and we really need to put our time and money to that. But since I have a little bit of time left over, I'm going to go ahead and add police and fire is another. Our city is growing so fast, we need to make plans because you can't just train an officer overnight. It takes a year. You can't just order an ambulance. It takes a year. So we've got to really look, because already up in the north part of the city, we don't have enough coverage. They're really running short, and it's in the cities, it's the growth of the city. The other thing is senior citizens. I think we need to give them some tax relief in any way we can find, and we also need to build that other senior citizen center about midway up in Irving so that we have the whole city covered basically for senior citizens. And last but not least, I've really been working hard to get the entertainment venue off the ground because that means jobs, close to 2,000. It means more money into our general fund. It means more of the hot tax. That's the hotel occupancy tax, and that's going to fund our convention center, our arts center, and our museum. So those are my top priorities for if I'm reelected for the 3 more years. Thank you.
Mr. Ward.
I just want to clarify the question. You said 2 priorities? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's in the question.
Yeah. Number 1 is is without question, I think, is the blue gold, is the water. So we must go forward with it and really research. And like I said, our water utilities director, there's a lot of options out there for us. The most desirable one is the water we already have secured in Oklahoma, but it's getting that pipeline into the city. But my second priority is without question, I've been told it's been raining economic development, which it has in Las Colinas and in adjacent areas. And in District 5, that's part of my area. But being a South Irving guy, and part of your duties, if you're elected from a single-member district, is the whole city. So it's South Irving neglect. We need to take care of that. It's been too long of a time. The McDougal project failures. We need to move forward with the city of Irving. We need to get incentives out there for people to build in South Irving, maybe South Beltline, from 183 down. There's a lot of corridors that we can to improve economic development in South Irving. Things are going great in District 5. You got the anchor of the convention center, which is outstanding convention center hotel coming up. And we also have 10 seconds, okay. The convention center hotel, now we got the convention center. So things are, and some residential are coming. Things are looking good in that part of the city. Thank you.
Mr. Gears.
Excuse me. Well, my first priority is going to be variations of tax reform. We're going to start by implementing a tax cut, for seniors who are an important component in the fabric of our community, and they deserve it. Additionally, we have no reason to maintain the highest tax rates in our history, that were implemented 3 years ago. The tax base is continuing to grow. We've proven that when that occurs, we can lower the tax rate and lower the burden on citizens. And additionally, this distribution, of $136 million in upfront grants and $200 million in future tax payments and things like that, 100% going, to one area of the city has to change. We need to redirect some of our resources. We need to be willing to encourage those types of development projects in South Irving. I can promise you, the $30 million that we're giving to Hines, to build these homes that many people in South Irving couldn't even afford, could be much better used to bring in maybe a nice restaurant that someone would like, maybe a nice retail store, maybe a Hobby Lobby. I mean, if you give me $30 million to give to a business, a private business, well, then I can get you a Babe's Chicken, anything. But that's the type of I think, equitable approach, that we're gonna take. So a lot of taxing priorities, and although you asked for 2, I gave you 3.
Thank you. Ms. Van Dyne.
Well, I appreciate that, but the city doesn't give money away anymore. We stopped that 3 years ago. When we look at capital outlays, it's amazing what happened under the term. I was elected to city council in 2004. The previous mayor was elected in 2005. At that point in time, it's one thing to have a budget. It's another thing how much you spend, right? Because a budget doesn't mean anything if your expenditures are way out there. We were spending $213 million in 2005. His last year in office, we were spending $356,965,000. You guys can do the math. I think one of our first priorities, I'm going to be really just practical. We need to hire a city manager. That needs to be one of our priorities this year. We've had interim fire chief. We've had an interim city manager. We need to get somebody as the CEO of this city who's going to push us forward. Look at what happened with the school board when they hired a superintendent that everybody had an opportunity to get to meet. It has been phenomenal in the school board, and I'm looking forward to doing the same thing as city manager. The second big priority for me is getting a master plan together, because the master plan is going to be able to prioritize how much we're spending on infrastructure, where it's needed, and I really would like to see timelines associated with that. We have thrown out there, and I've been on the council now involved for 10 years. I'm sick of us talking about some of these projects and not getting them built, specifically in South Irving. Looking at Main Street, we've been talking about what we're going to do to close Main Street down to one lane and putting in some areas. We're opening up the South Irving Library. I've got a lot of good things going, and we're also building single-family homes. Those are my 2 priorities.
Mr. Webb.
Yeah, to the point, 2 top priorities, my priorities. The council has a lot of priorities that we all be working together with, but my 2 top priorities is, number 1, I'm a retired firefighter, so I am very sensitive to the needs of the city as far as EMS service, fire service, and police coverage. So, I think all of the economic development, all things we do are good, but we need to make sure that we keep a very safe city. I don't have to tell you, it's a crazy world out there, and the most important thing to me is my safety above everything else. So I chair the Public Safety Committee for the City of Irving, And Steve McCullough will tell you, I probably make him nervous every time we have a meeting because I'm always asking, what do you need? What do you need? Because I need to make sure with all of the development that we got going on, when you really look at if we get through with all the development projects we got going on in Urban Center, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of structures, but we need to make sure that we have the police, the fire, and the EMS service to keep up with that. So I'm keeping an eye on that very closely. The other thing is that I had this idea brought to me about affordable curbside transportation for our seniors, and something similar to what the city of Grand Prairie has. Even though we got DART paratransit system, that's for people with disabilities, but we don't have anything whereby a senior citizen who basically needs to go to the drugstore, can pick up a phone call and pay 50 cents and get curb service. And Grand Prairie has been doing it. Plano, I think, does it, and I think we can do it, and I want to explore that in my next year.
Thank you. Mr. Hickman?
The first thing I want to see get done is the ethics policy. I want to get that passed. With all these big deals we got going on, with all the money that's being thrown around, and some of it is mind-boggling to me, we need everything to be above board. We don't need to be taking $30,000 for, from the city for a board we're on, or, we've got business dealings with a company. We don't need to vote on items like that. Once we get that done, then we can have unity on the council, and then as the mayor stated, we can get that city manager in here. We won't have qualified candidates saying, nah, I'm just not going to do that, because we've had so much turmoil up here. The second thing I'd want to do is, being in Place 3, living right by the mall, that agreement, that partnership with the city and with the Simon Group. I want to get all of us together, get with these local businesses and say, how can we help you out? How can we get you in the mall? The mall has so many empty storefronts. They're not making money on them. So let's get somebody in there that will make them some money. Let's make money for that local business. Let's make money for the city, because they're making money off taxes. If we need a 5-year prorated scale where the first year you're paying a little bit of rent and a little bit of tax, the next year a little bit more, until you're solvent, and by that time you've got a customer base, everybody's making money and everybody's happy. And who doesn't like that?
Okay, we're going to go to the closing statements now for the candidates. We did have one question that I'd like to read to you, and if you'd like to address it in your closing statement, that's fine. It's your choice. Some of you have mentioned it already. What budgetary problems for the city do you see as a result of the no tax for seniors proposal? If there is a significant decrease in revenue, what solution would you propose? So if you'd like to work that into your 1 minute, go for it.
No, one.
It's 1 minute for closing, so you'll have to talk fast. We're going to start with Place 3, Mr. Webb. Got you with your water.
With the water. Well, as most of y'all know, I'm a preacher, and usually when a preacher gives his sermon, he gives 3 points. So I'm going to give you 3 points as to basically why I think I'd like for you to vote for me. Number one, I have the leadership experience. I have a wealth of leadership experience over the years of my life. Number two, I have the tenure in the city. I've had a choice. I can live anywhere I want to live. I've chosen to stay in the city of Irving for 2 reasons. Number one, I like Irving. Number two, my wife told me we wasn't moving. And so I'm going to be here. The third reason is I've got the time. I retired January 2nd, 2014 from the city of Grand Prairie after 30 years of being a firefighter. 20 of those years I was a lieutenant. I was an officer in leadership roles. So basically when you put those 3 things together, leadership experience, the tenure in the city, I plan to stay in the city, and I got plenty of time to be down here at City Hall bugging road staff and mayors and whoever else, and I'm willing to do it.
Mr. Hickman.
Lifelong resident of Irving, chose to stay here, raising my family here, being real short and sweet with this. I love this city. I think we have a good thing here. I think we're on the right track. I think we're getting better and better each day, but that takes all of you getting out there, coming to events like this, voting. That's very important. I've always said that if you don't vote, you have no room to complain. I don't want to hear it. So I urge you to get out there, vote. If you have any questions, I'm available. My cell phone is always on. Emails are answered when I get to them, but they are answered. They're looked at. So I'm available. I think that I think we got something special here, and it's only going to get better. So all I'm asking for is your vote, your support, and I'm not going to throw a lot of flowery words out there. Just vote for Billy. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from the Place 5 candidates. Ms. Canaday.
I'd like to thank everybody that came tonight. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters because you do an excellent job in helping educate the voters. I appreciate that. I want to leave you with one thing tonight, that we are a AAA bond-rated city. We are not in heavy debt. We retire debt when we take debt on, and there is such a thing as good debt. That means that we're doing things. And Standard & Poor and Moody's would not give us a AAA bond rating if we're in a precarious financial situation. So you need to remember that. And we are 1 in 5 cities in the state of Texas that have a AAA bond rating. And we also win the Financial Transparency Award from the state every year, and it's quite an honor to get that. I just want to add, I have been looking out for citizens. I do stand up when I need to. I went to Dallas recently and shot down the 60 gas wells that were going to be built in the Trinity between Royal and Northwest Highway. And that turned out to be a great success, but that was going to ruin something that we've sunk a lot of money into. You've already know my priorities for the next year, so I'm going to ask you to please vote for me, and you can go to rosecanaday.com for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ward?
Yes, I'd like to tell you why I'm the best qualified candidate for this position. I've already talked about my education, engineering degree, MBA in finance, my management background experience, a career in the private industry, and my record of leadership with the city. I know that I can make a difference. I'm asking for your vote. Early voting starts April 28th, Irving Arts Center, Valley Ranch Library, and the City Hall. It's time for a change in District 5. Vote for Oscar Ward. I would like to meet you at my table after this meeting and to discuss any questions you may have, or you can reach me at 972-258-1007. I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Now we'll hear from the mayoral candidates. Mr. Gears?
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and answer the question. You know, the proposal to cut taxes for seniors is a 2% impact on the budget. It's about a $5 million item, and it should be obvious of all the different ways we could pay for that. Old-fashioned cutting wasteful spending to start, but otherwise, if we'd had to do it this year, we could only given away $131 million to developers instead of $136. That money that we've given away just this year would pay for 27 years worth of, this tax relief for seniors. So, I'm not too concerned about being able to manage the input. When the tax rate was raised a few years back to the highest record level in our history, now we pay 22% more in property taxes than residents of Plano. I mean, we pay 73% more in property taxes than being a resident of Grapevine. I mean, there are 9 cities now in Dallas County. We used to brag about having the lowest tax rate in the world. Now there are 9 cities in Dallas County that do better with that than us. So that's kind of what we're going to go after and tackle in this term of service if we can get your support in this election. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Dyne?
Thank you. I would ask, why senior tax cut now? He had 6 years when he was mayor to talk about senior tax cuts. He increased taxes, increased fees. All of a sudden now, during a municipal vote, is the big cry for senior tax cuts. In the last 3 years, we've gotten rid of $1 million consultants that we were paying. We got rid of a Cowboys stadium that we were spending over $500,000 on. Tens of millions of dollars that we were spending on developers. We have added transparency back into the city equation. We've opened up our council meetings now, hearing from the citizens. We've moved the Citizens Forum up. We've now turned the cameras back on. We are currently the 5th safest city by the FBI, the 6th fastest growing. We've added 10,000 new jobs. We're at the highest construction rates in our 28-year history right now. Our tax base has grown in the last 3 years from $16.5 billion to $18 billion, and we are no longer spending more money than we are bringing in. For all of those reasons, I ask for your support to continue moving this city forward. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all the candidates again for coming out tonight and sitting in the hot seat. So let's give them a round of applause. And also thanks to you, the audience, for your interest and your participation in making democracy work. We hope what you've heard tonight will have been of interest and will help you as you vote, and be sure that you do vote. Thank you again to ICTN and the sponsors for your assistance and support, the City of Irving, the Chambers of Commerce, and the Las Colinas Association. Good night.